Alright, so welcome to the Hidden Layers music channel. I am going to explain to you how I got this cool funky mix going on this tune. So welcome to Universal Audio's Luna software. I love this software because it is set up exactly like an analog mixer. You have your inputs, and the input starts at the top, and then everything goes down to the fader, just like it would if you were using an analog mixing board. Let me show you guys what this sounded like before I did anything to it. Here is no processing. So in order to make this video, I just wrote this little thing. It actually started out on a mallet, and I thought I was going to do this kind of like Steve Reich kind of vibe or whatever, and then it didn't go that way at all. It turned into Beatles rock, but here we go. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be really trippy and like ambient cool or whatever. And then as soon as I started adding things, it did not go that way. Okay, so let me explain to you what I did on all this. So on this drum machine here, the first thing I did was I hit it with our ATR tape machine. I hit this feature. I was like, what's going on? Okay, here we go. Okay, let me take all these, disable all of that. Okay, the first thing I did on my drum machine was I hit it with the oxide tape, which comes, I believe it comes free with this software, but I love it. I believe I picked one of these presets. I don't remember which one, and it's... Is it showing me? No, it's not showing me. Whatever. I'm just leaving it at 0. Here's with the tape machine. Here's without. I like it. But once you hit it, it just gives it a little more gel. And then I hit it with the classic Fairchild 670, which is an emulation of a compressor that was heavily utilized at Abbey Road for the Beatles. Here we go. And on this compressor, I just picked a preset so that if you're watching this video, you can also use these presets, and then you can slightly change them to your own liking if you'd like, but it's just another round of compression. I'm not hitting it too hard. It's not super audible. Here's with it. Here's without it. I think it just kind of... So what are you doing when you're compressing? You're taking the loud parts and making them quieter, and you're taking the quiet parts and making them louder. So you're making your signal, kind of smashing it down. And what I think the Fairchild does really nicely is it's got a sound to it, like a tone, but it's not too tony, so it's like relatively transparent. But I think what it does, or what I like about what it's doing right now, is that it's kind of bringing out the hi-hat and the high end. Okay, and then I hit it with the SSL G-Bus comp. And on this one, there is a preset that I really enjoy, EDM Just Better, right here at the top. Benno de whatever his last name is made up that preset. Okay, and let's check that out. Whoops. Sorry for the airplane. We got a lot of airplanes around here. I think that sounds really good. Here's with it, without. The SSL just kind of rounds off that kick drum and makes things a little less aggressive, a little more even. And then I thought that the drum machine was kind of lacking on the high end, so I boosted 3 decibels of 5 kilohertz, 5.1 kilohertz. With it, without it. Just brings to life the hi-hat and the upper end of the snare drum. Okay, and this is where I got kind of funky. So I was like, this sounds kind of lame, you know? And I didn't really get the right because I started this whole jam with the mallet instrument, I didn't make the snare drum with the intention of it being like a rock and roll vibe. So I wanted a little more flavor, so I slapped on this Galaxy Tape Echo, and I found this cool preset that adds a nice charm to my sound. That's yeah. So I'm a big fan of a lot of Lindsey Buckingham's work, and I love those, and Prince as well. I love a lot of those extra snare layers that they used to do in the studio. And that's my drum sound. Alright, let's switch over to bass. Alright, this is the raw bass guitar sound. And then I hit it with the Studer A800, which is a tape emulation plugin. A lot of tape emulators on my little mix here. Very fun. Here, without it, it's kind of boxy and a little too boomy. And I cranked the level just a little bit because the way the tape saturation works is it kind of cuts off some of the low end, which is what I was going for. And then I went to my Fab Filter EQ right here, and I decided to get a low cut because I don't really need any of this super low endy stuff down here. Let's check it out. Turn it on. You hear that? It just like you still sounds like a bass. It still has a lot of low end to it. It's still punchy, but it's no longer like dominating my speakers. Cool. And then I hit it with the DBX 160, a classic compressor, emulation of a classic compressor. I literally picked this bass cleanup preset, and I'm just tickling it. I'm not hitting it super hard on here on this compressor. Okay. And now here's where things get fun. So Universal Audio just released these two new plugins, and this one is a like tape emulator plugin, but it has a few different things, and this here is like a valve distortion. Let's check it out. Nice, huh? Just adds a lot of that spice. If you've ever heard Paul McCartney's bass guitar sound soloed, there's always a lot of crunch that you don't really hear in context, but out of context you're like, wow, I didn't realize how much distortion he used. And then I hit it with the SSL G comp. Now we're getting real big. It's getting big. It's getting big and funky. And this is the DI bass thickener preset. I want to hit it a little harder. Alright, and then, oh, it looks like I doubled up my EQ on accident. That's okay, let's leave it. Alright, let's hear our bass and drums together. This is just our bass and drums together, playing at the same time. But what I decided to do was take these and send them to their own bus so that they're into a stereo channel together. And then I decided to turn on this Neve stereo summing, which just compresses the stereo sound. Here we go. So now I'm having my drums and my bass in the same stereo mix together, and they're being compressed by a stereo compressor, which just gels them together as a unit. And then we're going to hit it with this ATR 102 tape emulation. And I'm on the Sunbaked cassette, so it's about to get real crunchy. Let's check it out. Here's with, here's without. So this was boring sounding to me. I thought it sounded kind of stock, so I wanted to get funky. That's getting cool. All Alright, and then we hit it with the LA3A on the mix bus comp, and I'm just tickling it, as you can see here, not too many decibels. And then I slapped on this additional layer on this Capital mastering plugin. This thing's a beauty, a real workhorse right here. And again, I'm just tickling. Each one of these plugins, like, even if you don't heavily utilize the plugin, it has a little bit of sound and character to it. So sometimes just slapping it on there is worth it, even if you're barely even using it. All right, the last thing I did was I put on this Hitsville mastering EQ. And the only thing I did was boost a little bit of this air, this high end. There's not a whole lot of stuff going up here in the 6250 frequency range, but let's check it out. You'll hear how it makes a small difference. Here's with it. So see how it's kind of a little too dark, and then just add some sparkle on the top of the cymbals and everything. All right, rad. Let's switch over to our guitar. This is our raw guitar. This is a direct in Fender Strat with absolutely no pedals or anything going on. And so the first thing I did was I hit it with a Studer tape saturator. And I don't remember which one. Who cares? And then I smashed it. So the signal's all the way up. Let's hear what that sounds like. Alright, cool. And then I got into our Verve plugin again. This thing's fun. Lots of overdrive. Very nice. And then I hit it. I cut out. I was like, wow, that's a lot. Way too much low end. I don't need all that on a guitar, you know. So I cut out a crap load of it. Low end, gone. And then I was like, okay, this sounds kind of boring. So I wanted to hit it with some movement. So I slapped on this MXR flanger, which adds a lot of fun. All right, now we're moving. Now we're moving and we're grooving. And then I hit this. I wanted to put on this delay. I wanted to add a little more movement / tonality to it. I just think the flanger and the chorus combination is just always such a fun ride. And then I decided to compress this a little bit more, and I'm compressing it really hard. I feel like for guitars, I like to just slam them, just smash them. Smash them up. And I was like, all right, this is a cool tone, but let's hit it even more. So I hit it with our Galaxy Tape Echo, just default, just to add a little bit more dimension. Oh, keep in mind our bass is just a little bit off center, and our guitar is panned to this guitar is panned to the left. And last but not least, one more round of compression with our API 2500. And now on this API 2500, I'm hitting it very hard, and I also had to crank the output. So I cranked it as I mixed it in, so it's mixed in now. Let's hear our bass, drums, and guitar all together. What am I doing? Here we go. So that's guitar left, bass, and drums all together. All right, rad. Let's go to our guitar right, and I'm going to go through this a little quicker now. Okay, we got our Studer A800 slapped on there, turned all the way up. And then I hit it with the Verve tape emulation plugin. Let's hear that. crunchy, nice and crunchy. And then I popped on this Pultec EQ and cut a whole bunch of low end out and boosted a little 5K. So you hear all that mud? Hear how muddy that is versus this? Right? Now we're getting into some classic. It's for a direct in. It's starting to sound kind of good. Here we go. I was like, that's still too low, too much low end. And then I hit it with for this guitar, so I wanted a little less color. So the Fab Filter Timeless 3 is a plugin that it's very transparent, so it doesn't add any extra flavors and colors. It just adds the effect. So let's check that out. Turn it on here and play. So just a short. Right? Now this guitar is starting to sound like it's not just direct in. It's got a little spice to it. And then last but not least, one more round of compression. And again, this one's cranked. I like to end my channel with the crankage. And then in context. Awesome. All right, let's check out our stereo. Then I took my guitars and I sent those into a bus, and then I turned on our Neve summing, so the guitars are getting summed together and compressed, and then they're getting hit with another level of tape emulation, and then I hit them with the Capital compressor, mastering compressor, and I believe on the hits fill I also boosted 6.25K just for air. I was listening through my monitors and it just felt kind of dull. So here we go. Let's hear it all. That sounds pretty rad. So we were already hearing that with the master channel, with the Neve summing on the master channel and the ATR 102 on the master channel. So master bus is one of my favorite spots. I used to be a live sound engineer. I was the head tech at like Market Hotel, Baby's All Right, Murmur Theater, and I did some touring with like Nick Valenci from The Strokes and Fab Moretti and blah 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 blah. But basically, throughout my time as a front of house engineer, the master bus became my favorite spot because you can just make a whole world of difference on your mix with a good master bus mix. So the first thing I did was I hit it with this soft tube tape emulation plugin. So it's another tape emulator. So here we go. Let's check it out. Here's without it. Oh yeah, I'm just using the classic 70s preset, which comes with it from the Joe Ciccarelli section. Oh, wrong button. And now let's turn it on. And back off. This plugin right here is very subtle, but it can be extreme if you want it to be. You can turn it up and make it wild. But what I'm using it for is just very subtle. But I love that. And again, SSL G Comp. This is such an amazing compressor. What a beautiful tool. Here we go. I have it just on the final mix presets. This is the SSL bus compressor, the compressor legacy edition. Off, on. Do you hear that? Like the mix went from being like kind of like bombastic and like overkill to just being like, wow, sounds super smooth all of a sudden. That's why I love this thing. This thing is a beast. Here we go, one more time. Smooth, right there, just bam. Yeah. Okay, and then I hit it with this SSL American Class A plugin, and honestly, all I did on this was I just hit it with a whole bunch of overdrive. So I turned the drive all the way up to 6. Here we go. width. It just brings it to life, you know? And then this is one of those plugins. This, I forgot the freaking company. Oh, yeah. Empirical Labs Arouser. This plugin just has a sound. Like, as soon as you slap it on, it's like, boop. Oh, there's a sound to it. So what I do is I put it on a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's really not doing a whole massive deal. I just wanted to get the circuitry of it, you know, because keep in mind, this is emulated after the actual circuitry of the real piece of outboard gear. So let's hear it with it, or without it. Sorry, here we go. Okay, and with it. Oh, one thing I used this to do was, so when you're mixing, you want to leave space for your mastering engineer. Mastering is a very, very important part of the process. So if you look over here on your master bus channel, on your output, let's see where I'm at. See how before I put this on here, check it out. I'm cranked. I'm hitting in the red. So what I wanted to do was, let's pretend I'm going to send this to a mastering engineer. The mastering engineer is going to have better gear, most likely. They're going to have a better acoustically designed facility. And they're going to have really crazy, over-the-top, super expensive, high-end speakers so that they can hear every little detail. And so what you want to do is you want to leave a nice chunk of space for them to be able to do what they need to do. So you might not realize it. There might be things that they want to turn up, and they need space to do that. And if they don't end up turning up, then they can just turn up your overall volume. But let them do that. You have no reason to be blasting your mixes way up here until you get into the mastering process. Cool. So here's what it sounds like. Alright, and then the last thing I did was I hit it with one more round of this Verb tape saturation on the sweetener default, or sweetener preset. And here it is. And now my level's up high again, but whatever. Who cares? This is just for the video, so we're not going to worry about it. I'm not sending this to a mastering engineer. Cool. Here's what it originally sounded like. Cool. It's kind of cool, just like super dark. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's put everything back. And okay, well, sweet. Thanks for coming by the Hidden Layers music channel. I really appreciate you giving us your time and watching this video. We're a brand new channel. If you'd like to help us out, share it with somebody, because that's been one of the hardest parts so far, is just getting off the ground. But and also, please go ahead and check out our other videos. We've been making a lot of fun content. We're still kind of in the early phase of figuring out, like, what all are we doing here? But we're very committed to building the channel. So there's actually 4 people working on this channel. So if you want to help us out, give us a like, give us a sub, and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Even if you let it, or even if you think it sucks. Like, when people dislike things, I'm like, why can't you just let me know? Like, just tell me why you don't like it. Have a beautiful time. Bye. Have a beautiful week, beautiful life.